Just showing up random things now. All right, and welcome to episode 143 of the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Powers, and joining me this week, we have our friend from down under, Chase.
Hello.
Our friend from up north, Steven.
Ahoy.
And our other friend from down under, but not quite nearly as far south from me, Rachel.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Oh man, it has been an interesting week. I've made lots of people mad on the internet, and they can get over it. It's funny actually to me, but we'll talk about that this week. Yeah, internet hate is great. Weirdly passionate people in odd directions. It's kind of funny to me. But as normal, we will jump into what we've been doing. But before we do that, as a new reminder, if you're watching this, leave us a little thumbs up on the video. It helps. Subscribe. I'll drop down to that. I don't care. Like and subscribe, whatever. Or leave us a review. It kind of helps us out. I don't think people are hearing that at the end of the show, so I'm going to try putting it here. All right. Let's get into what we've been doing. And Rachel, since you seem to have the most of all of us going on, let's start with you.
I haven't been doing much, honestly, because work has got me up real early, and I am very tired. Which, you know, work is great. I love my work. I love what I'm doing. I won't talk about it, reasons, but
Yep.
I love what I'm doing. And so really, I don't got much. I've been playing Astrobot. I've been really enjoying that. I am not like stupid far into it. I'm in like the 3rd galaxy now.
Nice.
I went to a Ren Fair today. It was very, very interesting Ren Fair. Do you want to know why it was so interesting?
I would like to know.
It was indoors.
That's very weirdly done Ren Fair. You think that would be outside?
It was in a mall.
Oh, okay. So it was a place of death. Gotcha.
So like, and I thought that was it actually was there. It went so well that they're doing it again next year. Instead of it just one day, they're going to do like 2 or 3 days, because it was a lot of fun. It was great for the people that really want to like bring their A game and their really detailed costumes, because it was an air conditioner. And
where did they put the horses?
Well, there was no horses. There were service animals, though.
Do they have people on scooters that they just put little horse heads on?
I mean, there was those and like animal scooter things. I mean, that counts, I guess. You know those, they have them at the malls, and they're the weird like giant animal things. Yeah.
Did they have the my favorite people dressed up as Star Trek?
I was going to ask the same thing.
No, actually, they did not. It was mainly they had some anachronisms, which was
like a mall.
Well, like there was a Ren Fair styled Sun and one of the puppets from Five Nights at Freddy's, but there was like Ren Fair style, which was kind of interesting and unique. So I thought that was cool. I didn't get a picture of them though. I met like a bunch of people that there was like, we recognize you from somewhere. I'm like, do you go to Lady of the Lakes Ren Fair? And they're like, yeah, I do. And I'm like, you probably have seen me there. This will be year 3 for me going to it. And they're like, oh, cool. And I made some new friends. When I walked in to the like through one of the entrances, because there was multiple ways to get in. Like I get in there and I immediately see my friend Emily at her booth, and I see my friend Molly at her booth, and I go, well, gosh dang, I didn't know I had a welcoming committee. And they were like, of course you're here. Like, why else would we expect anything else? And that's where I got that bag that I showed off earlier. Was at my friend Molly's booth. She's wonderful.
Nice.
But it was really like, it was low key, but surprisingly, like a lot of people were there. Like I thought it was kind of unique and interesting, and a real opportunity for malls like this that aren't necessarily dead, but malls as we used to know them are a dying breed. There are very few that are actually like active and have a lot of things going on and a lot of
Yeah, I was gonna ask if
stores.
this was a active mall or a dead mall being repurposed. So it sounds like it's
So
kind of on death's door.
it's not on death's door exactly. There's like really good stores there, like that get a lot of people, but then there's other stores that don't. Like
Mm.
there's a little kind of interesting antique store in there that has and Jeremy, I should have taken a picture of this, and the next time I go into there, they have screen used Indiana Jones costumes in there.
Say what now?
They're not for sale, but they're on display, and it's literally screen used indie, a whole setup.
Off the air. Let's plan a robbery.
Then on the other side they have the screen used Maharaja outfit. So
Oh wow.
like yeah, lots of cool stuff in there. And it's a just very very unique shops in this place, and that's actually where I got my Beetlejuice popcorn bucket, the gravestone one.
Oh, okay. I wonder where you got that.
Yep, I got that at the Regal that's in that mall. But this mall is it's an older mall. It is so old that instead of it being called a Barnes and Noble, it's a B. Dalton's.
Oh my god!
Might as well be a Walden Books.
Like that's what I
Wow,
said.
I'm having flashbacks.
I'm do you remember the bookstore that used to be in the mall, Jeremy?
I do.
I miss that bookstore. That bookstore was fun.
I'll have to ask Amanda if she remembers that one, because she always loves bookstores.
That
There
was
is
a
a new
good one.
bookstore in downtown.
Bookstores always
Panama City
smelled
that
so
you like.
great.
Yes, the Bookish Boutique, right?
Yes.
Yep, they're wonderful. I follow them
Small
on Instagram.
place, but they're nice.
Yep.
Amanda loves it.
But also ask her if she remembers the puppet show that used to be in the mall.
She probably does.
Yep. But
This is in Panama City, for those who are wondering what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah, but also this mall is so old. Do you remember the coin racing thing with the big black like?
Oh yeah, no, those things are everywhere.
Yeah, they even had one of those still intact, like completely intact with its wood paneling and everything. Like this is and the good thing about this, even though this is an older mall and a less crowded mall, it still has some life in it, and it actually was very clean, very well kept. They had mead at the paint and wine place, and they had their like whole bar open. You could buy paintings and all of that different stuff.
Yeah,
and they served mead, so I was like, yes.
If it was a little bit more rundown, Stephen, then they would have had the horses in there.
Yeah. But I thought it was kind of a unique opportunity for malls that are like this, that aren't dead but might be on their last legs, to basically, offer it up to house different events in. Like they also do like a 5K in that mall where it's indoors and it's mall walkers, mall runners, whatever. And it's kind of safer because you're in the AC.
You just have to dodge the shoppers as they're trying to go into a place.
Yeah, well, they do it at such a time where the stores open a little later, and it's and this is I thought it was kind of a unique opportunity, and I had a lot of fun, made some new friends, and I hope that there are more events like this and malls like this, because I remember when our mall back home used to do the trick or treating.
Yeah, now it's being torn down finally.
Yeah, not really thank the Lord, but like I don't even know what's going in its place. I wanted
to fly a drone through it so bad while in its current state, if I could find a way.
I was hoping that they would turn it into like a convention center space, because they don't really have that in Panama City, and I think it would be beneficial.
They're tearing that down too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right. we could talk about that, but that's all I've been doing. And I don't really have anything else at all.
Okay. All right, Steven, what about you? What you been doing?
Let's just copy and paste from last week a little bit. I've been playing ZZZ. They're actually going to do a big update next week. I'm getting excited for that. It's going to be a lot to do. Still playing Multiverses. Next week or so, they're adding Powerpuff Girls.
Saw something about that.
So that's going to be great. And then a surprise announcement from Indie World, and it's coming to the other systems as well, is Five Nights at Freddy's In the Pit is finally coming. I wanted that as soon as I saw it on Steam to come to consoles. It is a pixel adventure clock tower, which is also coming out eventually, Clock Tower Rewind. So I'm going to be eating good. I'm going to be eating good soon.
Nice.
But yeah, that's just about it until tonight when we play Space Marine.
Yep. And to talk about us already playing some Space Marine of a different sort, Chase, what you been doing?
Well, been playing some Space Marine multiplayer, the Eternal War mode.
Yes.
Played a little bit last night with Jeremy, and then a little bit after you went to bed.
It's the only reason we did. I had to clarify because you had seen where if you click on one of the multiplayer modes, it says like this is full of spoilers. Don't play it.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you talking about? And I found it's a whole different mode. The actual
The
multiplayer,
operations.
with like Annihilation and all that. That's just multiplayer. You can play it all day long.
Yeah. So I ended up playing that a little bit. And I think it's really well done. Like the classes and everything, I think are pretty good. I mean, some of them I think are obviously better than others, but that's just to be expected with multiplayer and how people figure things out.
Yeah.
The only thing that I think the game is lacking in with the multiplayer is it definitely has that issue of, I'm assuming, I don't actually know. Excuse me. I'm assuming that there's no skill-based matchmaking or anything, because there was quite a few times where I would get into a group and then we would just get absolutely dumpstered. Like we wouldn't even score a point against the enemy. And it was just like, okay, well, this isn't really fun. And then like it would just take you into the next game against the same team and you just get dumpstered over and over again. Like it. So it was yeah, there's some things I think they just need to tweak and figure out. I also think that
new. Yeah.
there's only 3 game modes. And so them not having an option to just select like a random playlist where it just changes the game mode, like, is quite, I think that's something they should add in to keep it fresh or whatever, because otherwise you're just playing the same one over and over again, and then you have to exit out of the multiplayer completely to then change the game mode, because sometimes you don't get an option to just leave the lobby, which I think is weird. So
yeah, it's gonna have growing pains for sure. It's very early days.
I couldn't pick my class, so I logged off.
yeah, there's been quite a bit of that too. But no, overall the game's solid.
That was the very first game Jeremy played.
I'll talk about that one because that was pretty good.
And then I saw Beetlejuice after the last week's podcast. I give a thumbs up. It was everything I expected from a Beetlejuice movie. I was just like, oh yeah, yep. I went and saw a Beetlejuice movie. So I was happy with it.
Side note for anyone interested, at least in the States and I think Canada, you can watch all of the Beetlejuice cartoon on Tubi right now. So
yes,
just
we'll say.
And fun fact, the very first movie that Netflix shipped out was Beetlejuice.
Yes.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
I will say that every time that I hear Richard Marx now, I'm just like, yes.
Nice. All right, so for me, I finished Astrobot within about 48 hours of getting it. I got the platinum. So last week, I wanted to play it because I got friends that do reviews for different things, and I was like, I'm gonna play this like I'm under their timetable of how fast can I get through this entire game, which is not bad. I'm pretty good at platformers. I enjoy platformers a lot. That's the generation I grew up in of 2D and 3D platformers. And I have to say, I really enjoyed it. It's a good game. I'd give it a solid 9 out of 10. Lots of little fun hidden things here and there. The very last level can go fuck itself. Because good God.
Is it hard?
Hard is a word that doesn't measure up for this bullshit design.
Oh, okay. Please don't.
I literally considered knocking a number off of it because it was so annoying.
So I struggled with where you can find the triangle doodads?
Yes.
Those levels were hard.
This is the final form of those.
Okay.
I probably attempted at least 100 times.
I'm
sitting there.
I'm clearly gonna need a drink before I
You're gonna need to drink after. I can tell you that right now.
Like, I'm gonna need both. I'm gonna
But
need.
this is the peak of the Sony wave. This is we're back, boys.
Right.
Not that I smoke, but I would need like a celebratory smoke or something after that, right? Like, are we talking that hard?
I was so relieved when I finally got done with it. I was like, I am done.
Break out the victory cigar.
Bake out
Right.
the victory cigar.
I got
Omens,
through
eat
all of
your
it,
heart
and then I
out.
realized I hadn't gotten the platinum, and I was like, "What the hell more do you need me to do?"
What
And
did
it
I
was just
miss?
it was two stupidly simple little funny things in the main area with all the little Astrobot characters, and I was like, "Really? That's all I missed? So let me go do that real quick." Boop, platinum. I was like, "God dang it!" Kind of feels like I should have gotten it after finishing that level, so it's very anticlimactic. But it's a great game. I greatly recommend it still. I've had a lot of fun with it. I've got a friend that's going to be borrowing the disc from me, which we'll talk about why that may not be a future thing coming soon. The other part is, yes, I played some Warhammer 40K. The first time I played it last week when we started off, because I'd gotten my copy early or in around that time finally, and I was playing some multiplayer. And the very first match, I was talking with Steven while I'm playing, and some dude just pops on there because you can only have so many people be a class each time. Like I think Chase mentioned earlier. So only 2 can be one. And, and if you don't get what you want, immediately I hear over the voice chat, which is on all the time, by the way. You cannot turn it off without turning the volume all the way down. So even if you're in a Discord chat or something, you still hear people talking. And the guy just immediately goes, "This ain't the character I wanted to be. I'm out." And you see him leave the game, and I was like, all right, we're off to a great start here, people. So Amanda and I also went the other day and saw Beetlejuice, which in all general terms, we did really enjoy it. We thought it was hilarious. We loved watching it. I'd finally gotten her to watch the first movie a couple months back because she had never seen it before. Her family was very much not into movies like that, so I had to go find the 4K for it.
Okay, I believe you.
The only issues I had with it, I'm not even sure where the "I believe you" came from. I'm very confused now. Oh, no, I get it now. Okay. Sorry.
I
don't know why.
I got it too, and I was waiting for him to get it, and I was like,
I thought I had said something that annoyed you, and that's why you said that. And I was like, what did I do? It
No,
threw
I
me
was waiting
off.
for you to jump
I
in the
get
line.
it now.
yeah, jump in the line. So,
Body
actually,
and time.
speaking of jump in the line, this will be quick.
Yeah.
It came on the sound, whatever music they were playing during the cosplay contest today or the costume contest today at the Ren Fair, and everybody started singing and dancing to "Jump in the Line," and I was so delighted I started crying. Like,
that's fantastic.
it was great, and literally this older gentleman was like, "I don't understand why all these young people know this song." I'm like, "It's because of Beetlejuice," and he was like, "Oh, this is so delightful."
Yeah. So I enjoyed the movie. I think some of the plot felt a little rushed, or they could have just kind of like dead-ended a bunch of it. It feels like it's kind of leaning towards multiple possibilities of later stuff going on, but I mean, it was still fun to watch. We really enjoyed it. So don't get upset, Rachel. It's okay.
I know I'm not getting upset. I will say the original run time was 2 hours and 15 minutes. The run time in the theaters of the version that we have seen in theaters is 1 hour and 47 minutes and a couple seconds. So there's about 30 minutes ish of missing footage. And I hope they end up most of them end up on the deleted scenes.
That would be nice.
We get a director's cut. Come on, Tim, give it to me.
It felt like we had a couple of mainline stories that felt like there were going to be big parts of it that just kind of petered out to nothing or got resolved all of a sudden, and you're just kind of like, huh, okay, why'd that go? But I could see it popping up for multiple things later on, but we'll see.
I have some thoughts.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later so we don't spoil it for anybody.
Yes.
It's good though. Go see it. We had fun.
Definitely.
Lastly,
go see it just for me, everybody. Just for me.
Or just go see it because you want to see it. It's Rachel approved. I also started, and I've only played a little bit of the first case, the MEO, the Smiling Man. and I plan on trying to play that more starting on my flights tomorrow, because I'm going to be on a plane at 4 a.m. after this showing, or going out to the flights at 4 a.m.
If you like it, there's 4 more types of cases and other games you can do.
Oh, okay,
cool.
There's
Nintendo's version of the Famicom Mysteries, the part of this series, and then another one got resurrected recently, and it's kind of under the radar, but came out around the same time. It's also like Famicom Murders, so it's been localized for the first time, so it's good.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to get used to the setup for how it works. It's very different from the type of games I'm used to like this, because like a lot of those are usually like Phoenix Wright, the Ace Attorney series, stuff like that. And this feels a little more nuanced with how you have to go in to like watch somebody to get a clue, or, it just seems a little more in depth with what you have to do. And I spent some time trying to find the English language option until Steven pointed out, no, it's just in Japanese. It's subtitles. It's like, oh, okay, cool. I wasn't sure. I was like, I feel like I'm missing something. So hopefully that will go over well. And by next week, maybe I'll be able to say a little bit more on it, depending on how much I get to play on this trip.
The butler did it.
Well, don't need to play it now. Even though there's no butler involved in any part of the case so far.
My dog almost just took out my headphones, by the way. That was kind of entertaining.
Nice. All right. So let's jump in then to our news here, which we have to start off, sadly, with 2 passings of people. So first off, we have lost James Earl Jones at the age of 93. And this is an actor, voice actor, and everything else, stage actor, all that everybody I talked to had a different reaction or different thing they remembered him from. I always thought of him as Darth Vader in Star Wars. Other people were talking about him being, Simba in The Lion King, or Mufasa in The Lion King, sorry. His role in Field of Dreams, The Sandlot, Conan the Barbarian, where he turned into a snake, and just a ton of other roles.
So many things.
Yeah. So he will end up talking more about what's happening with his future in regards to Darth Vader with one of our later stories, because I think it kind of ties in for different aspects of it. But do you guys have any specific movies that you remember him from or think of immediately? I may have already listed or not.
Yeah, I still remember him fondly from The Sandlot, because he was portrayed in the beginning as being the big scary guy, and he turned out to be the nicest. But I'm also, because I watched the most of the series, I remember when he was on Big Bang Theory, and coincidentally, Gary Fisher had never met him before.
Mm-hmm.
They'd never met the voice, so they finally met each other, and Carrie Fisher said, "Hi, Dad." Yeah. So
I just remember. I remember that episode of it's not funny, James.
No, why am I laughing? But I also learned, which I thought was, not kind of nice of him, is he sat down and he did tons of recordings, and he actually signed a kind of like a past lifetime contract that they can use his voice and train it to say other things.
Yeah,
because
I was going to talk about that.
His estate and his family will get the proceeds from it. But
yeah, I wanted to talk about that in the later story, but yeah.
Well, it'll make sense later, but yeah. He specifically signed off on that, saying that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he wants Darth Vader to live forever.
Yeah. Well, and his voice to live forever. It already has, but we were speaking of movies he's been in. Coming to America.
Oh yeah.
Do you guys remember that? Coming to America 1 and 2? Yeah. Classics.
Love those. I always thought it was funny. It was the same voice actors that played the King and Queen that were also, Mufasa, and I can't remember what her name was. Nala? No, I think it was the other
Mrs.
one.
Mufasa.
Yeah, Mrs. Mufasa. We'll go with that.
No,
it wasn't Nala.
Sarabi.
Sarabi. Oh, okay. I don't remember the names all the time. Nala was the other girl. Never mind. Chase, what about you? Any James Earl Jones memories? You're muted, bud. You muted yourself, Chase.
Definitely would have to be. Oops. Definitely would have to be Star Wars. Just being the big Star Wars fan that I am, that Darth Vader's voice is iconic to me.
For sure. So yeah, he will definitely be missed. Moving on to the next one from my childhood. Peter Renaday passed away recently at the age of 89. He was best known for his role as being the original voice of Splinter from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles back in the 80s and 90s. It's just, he's done other roles, but that's the one that always sticks with me. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah,
there, but...
he was the voice of my childhood. I didn't know he did so much for Disney too, including voicing Mickey Mouse at one point.
Really?
But,
I didn't see that part.
Yeah, they said he voiced him in some songs that I guess they sang. But
I
was just like, he had a big impact on Disney too. It looked like.
So he was still a mouse.
Yeah, I'll always remember him from Splinter. I'm glad that recently they got to have a reunion, the 4 turtle actors and him. And they got stuff signed from each other. One guy got a picture of Splinter walking with 4 baby turtles with his signature on it, so I thought that was neat. Yeah, 2 days after his birthday. That sucks.
Yeah, that is sad. So, all right, moving on to our first bit of news then. So, Lucasfilm is finding itself in a lawsuit brought on by the recreation of the late actor Peter Cushing's character, Grand Mof Tarkin, for Star Wars Rogue One. So, Cushing passed away back in 1994 at the age of 81. Kevin Francis is the guy that's bringing the claim against Rogue One producer Lunac Heavy Industries. He's also going after the late executors of Cushing's estate and Cushing's agency, Associated International Management. Because Francis is claiming he and he alone must give permission for any use of recreation of Cushing's image following an apparent agreement between himself and the late actor in 1993, about a year before his death, which they're trying to, I guess, show the evidence of whatever agreement this was. But that's also the weird thing is, like, even Cushing's family is being sued for this, apparently.
Wait, yeah, why'd you wait this long?
Wait, who's Kevin Francis?
I don't know.
Some guy who needs a paycheck.
Like, well, but I mean, who is he in relation to this guy that gives him the bit that in relation to Cushing that gives him the ability and the right to sue all of these people?
Well, he's claiming that an agreement that he and Cushing made about a year before Cushing died gave him control over the use of his likeness or recreation of it, and everything. So they don't know. So he's about 80 at the time he did it.
But he waited how many years to decide, now I'm going to sue?
Well, apparently he's been trying to sue for a little while, and there's been injunctions and other stuff going on with it, but the judge finally ruled that they have to take it to court. So this may actually end up settling like legal precedent in regards to the use of someone's likeness, as well as who owns the rights to those. So Lucasfilm did not originally have to feel they needed to seek permission to use him because it tied in with his 1977 Star Wars contract, apparently. And then they did reach out to the estate through his management group and paid them a $37,000 fee for that short scene and how it was recreated.
He just says he's a friend of Peter Cushing.
Yeah, but I mean, he says that they had an agreement through his business, and
if it's
that's
verbal,
the legal
he's DOA.
precedent. Say what?
If it's verbal, he's DOA.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And this is what I was wanting to tie into because it's the weird thing of using someone's likeness after they passed, which has been done before. This is not a new thing. It was even done recently with Carrie Fisher in regards to her role as Princess Leia, because she passed away before the end of the newer trilogy that they were doing. So they had to recreate some parts with her in it, as well as using footage that was not previously used to kind of close out her story. And
they used her in Rogue One too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hers looked a little weirder. I'm trying to remember, was she alive during Rogue One though? Because she was just, kind of like digitized, like tried to de-age her, or I'm trying to remember timeline wise if she had already passed away by that point. I don't think she had. I know they have involvement with her daughter doing stuff as well. Like she's been in the Star Wars movies and helped step in for some of the roles and things like that. And that's kind of the weird thing with that, because you don't know family's intent or how they're going to do that for having permission. But then what you were talking about earlier, Steve, in regards to James Earl Jones, he specifically wanted Darth Vader to live on beyond him. So he worked with them to record all of this, gave their blessing, and they've already used it. They actually used it in the Obi-Wan series as well, because James Earl Jones just got to the point he didn't want to do the role anymore because he was just getting up in age. He was 93 when he passed. And now they can recreate his voice to do all this stuff to live on. And some people still think they shouldn't be able to, but I think James Earl Jones gave us permission. He gave his blessing and helped make it. That's kind of a different story at that point.
It's leaving his family a legacy and no worries. Like they can.
Yeah, I didn't realize this until later. He was not credited for the voice in the first 2 Star Wars movies, which he knew about. He did it on purpose. He viewed his voice work as a special effect, not as an acting part. So he did not get full credit until Return of the Jedi, and then giving credit on the first 2 films when they did the re-releases. So all of those versions will have him listed in there as the voice of Darth Vader.
I think an
You
important
might say he altered the deal.
So I think an important thing to note that I just realized, I was reading about it, and Lucasfilms did say that they did receive permit when it was when A New Hope was redone. They was remastered or whatever. I think in 97 or something like that. And they received permission from Cushing's estate to get his likeness in order to do that, to essentially do something quite similar to what they're talking about. But of course now this is on a larger scale, and they didn't, nothing came of it. Nothing.
Because Cushing wasn't recreated in that one. They just cleaned it up, and when they did those additions, he was not an additional character.
But they still had to get his likeness. That was a thing. So there's a lot of gray area going on, and
because I don't know the legality. Like if they're just doing like a special edition or a director's cut of a movie, do they have to go back and renegotiate, or is that tied in with their? I guess it's with their contract on a bit.
So it depends. It depends on what their original contract was. I think it really does.
Because dear Lord, Blade Runner would be a good question for that, because we've gotten so many versions and takes on Blade Runner.
But yeah, I think with what James Earl Jones has done, he's done it a very smart way, because one, he wants his voice to live on. He wants the role to continue, and he also doesn't want the role to change. Like he doesn't want the character too severely changed from what he established it as. And I think he's important. That longevity and that constancy is important, not just to the character and how Darth Vader is perceived and all that kind of stuff, but also this helps his family, because he negotiated it in such a way where his estate keeps getting money, which helps his family. And I think that's very smart, honestly, for older actors to do. And that is a okay use of AI, 100%. As long as it's actor approves, whatever they have, they're a lot of lines pre-recorded. That's fine. This is good, because it keeps people it gives them their family money, and it keeps their family, helps their family survive. So.
Go ahead, Stephen.
Yeah, because even when you look at it, the actor's name escapes me right now, but basically Lando Calrissian, the actor, he signed it if I'm not Harvey Dent, I get proceeds from every Batman movie that's released. It's pretty much in perpetuity.
He made some money on that.
And then Jack Nicholson, even better, was if I'm not the Joker, I get a cut in perpetuity. So it's that's really smart.
The smartest deal ever.
Yeah, that was the smartest deal they ever did. Is because back then they didn't. Oh, this will be a flash in the pan, just a few Batman movies, and he's like, okay, but if I don't play the Joker, I want a percentage, and they're like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they could never have pictured that, but this kind of works. This kind of works for everyone with what James Earl Jones has done. Is they can keep that voice, they can keep it the same way. They don't necessarily have to pay somebody an absolute gob of money. Yes, his estate is generating something, but comparatively, it might not be as much as getting a new person to do it and negotiate, and the cost of whatever negotiating a new contract would be.
My worry about that would be is you would not see like recastings and things that probably should happen. You know, like look at the Incredible Hulk. If they had tied in a deal like that and they had to keep the original actor that did it, we wouldn't have gotten any of the stuff later, and they would have just kept having to repeat using him. Even after he passes, they could keep using him. At that point, like who else would become it?
So we don't know the exact like terms of James Earl Jones' contract. Like we don't know.
I'm curious if there's got to be something about an overhead of what they're allowed to have him say or do.
Yeah, and but also like we don't know the exact term, so it could be that, you know, for certain things they could get a new actor for certain things. We don't know if it's just as nope, this is the voice we use for it in Ad Infinitum. Like we don't know. So there and I think like legally a company would be kind of stupid to like pigeonhole themselves into that kind of corner where they couldn't. So my guess would be is that this gives them the option to continue using James, which why wouldn't they?
Right.
But on a case by case basis, they could use other actors. So
I think they do for some of the animated. It's just, I mean, Darth Vader is, I think, a very specific idea of a character.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's what they're sticking to. But like if Sony tried to do that with Spider-Man, you know, we've had multiple Spider-Mans, or you've got, you know, Warner Brothers with Batman or things like that goes along. We've had different takes on it when if they had the technology, would they have tried to stick to the same one? Like how could I worry about that, because Hollywood can be very not creative if they can get away with it.
What do you mean? You didn't watch the remake of Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead?
Oh, no, I did not.
But it's like I said, I think it's good for them to have those options where they don't have to change things if they don't want to. This in the long run, I think it's good, but options are always good. But I mean, to your point, there's always going to be some lazy filmmaker out there in Hollywood who would probably use this kind of thing to their advantage, but we have no way of knowing, and we can't control them either. So I worry that we're going to be coming up on the day of somebody doing that. Like, oh, we have the rights to use this person's likeness, this person's voice. I'm going to make some shocking movie that has him do something that he wouldn't normally do. And it's like, who's to stop it? I think
someone's going to try and do it. That's just what they love to do.
Oh yeah. But I think like for someone that has like such an iconic voice as he does, there's probably some verbiage in his like contract that
I'm sure that
prevents
freaking tight.
Yeah.
Like prevents that kind of usage. Like
I feel that would also poison yourself in Hollywood. So you wouldn't get a lot of people to be able to sign on to your projects if you decided to do something shocking. So
yeah,
they wouldn't touch that.
Oh no, I don't think so.
It's like trying to do a hit piece on Mr. Rogers. You're gonna get.
Oh no, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody messes with Mr.
That one
Rogers.
movie was good, but
that wasn't a hit piece though.
No,
that was apparently just loving and adoring. Because like in his retrospect, his wife was involved in that and signed off on everything and all of it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's not the horrible story like what happened with Bob Ross. So.
Oh God.
Oh my God. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to our next little bit here. Hey, here's another Rachel's centric story. Good Omens Season 3, which is supposed to be its final season, is now on indefinite or temporary hold because of accusations being levied against the creator and showrunner Neil Gaiman, apparently. It's been reported to be possible production changes, which many are thinking maybe the removal and replacement of Gaiman from the project, which in later updates, Gaiman has actually come out and said, look, to Amazon, I'm willing to step aside and to step back from production and connection to the series if that will help move it along. And Amazon is still currently deciding if they're going to accept that and use that to move on. I'm not going to go into details on all the accusations. You can look up that yourself, but I don't want to go into them here. But this also follows Disney's decision to delay a possible, well, actually they canceled.
I think it's still delayed.
The last thing I saw earlier today before the show is they officially canceled it for the Graveyard Book series, that they do not want to continue with it. They might be able to move in with somebody else, because I think it was supposed to also be with Netflix. But they decided not to. But, Gaiman himself, with his accusations levied against him, he calls them disturbing, still denies any of the wrongdoing. And at this point, we're just kind of waiting.
My Sandman.
Yeah, Sandman I thought was fantastic as well, but the show is still very early in development. It wasn't even supposed to start filming until January of next year, 2025. I want to see this, at least this series, end. Like, we have so many shows that get canceled because they have cliffhangers because they don't know where they're going. They were like, we're going to do 3 seasons. That's it. And now we may not even get that 3rd season.
No. Okay. So here's the thing.
Yes.
Amazon is not dumb. They know that Good Omens is a cash cow. It's 100% a cash cow for them, much like The Boys is. They do worse stuff on The Boys show than kind of what Gaiman has supposedly done in real life. Still airing. Wild.
Actors versus real thing, but I get you. Yeah.
Yes. But they're not dumb. That and also neither is Neil Gaiman. Like the fact that he wants this so badly to get out there. I don't think necessarily for himself. I think this is more for Terry. He wants the story told so badly that he's willing to step aside, to step back as showrunner, whatever, everything
he was producer and showrunner. Yeah.
So maybe they just bink him down to a writing credit, because that's what that would be the lowest that he could do, where he's still on there. And they'd have to give him credit for that because he wrote the scripts. So like, and that's, it's a thing that happens. That's I think one of the reasons why we haven't gotten the full Beetlejuice score is because of the accusations apparently being levied against Danny Elfman that is in a similar situation.
Wait, what? I did not know about that.
You can look that up. I'm not going to go into detail.
We'll talk about it later.
All I know is that the vinyl that one of you guys linked it to me, I believe. The people who are producing the vinyl said in a comment that Warner Brothers is not planning to, release another contract. And I was like, oh, I wonder if it's about this. Makes sense.
Yeah, my opinion on it is some of them, there's too much going against the person. But then there's other ones where I'm like, I don't know. I think this is more of an attack.
Yeah,
his views are very outspoken, so I don't think some people like it.
Yeah, I think, and also Neil's a weird guy. He's
eccentric. We'll go with that.
But he's a weird guy, and very eccentric. And I think them pausing is smart. I think
PR.
It's a PR. Yeah.
But I'm not advocating for what anybody does in these situations, but I'm just pointing out that somebody who we've already written off got kind of all his charges dropped against him.
Yep.
And another one who has gotten replaced in a huge saga also, basically just said, yeah, I did this, but I didn't do all that. Right. And they were like, well, that was enough trouble that we're going to just take you out. So
it's we live in a society of cancel culture, and that's why a lot of these companies are like, very quick to react and overreact. Not that this is an overreaction, but I'm just talking in generalities here. For things to avoid themselves getting canceled. So it's that's a thing that happens now, and I think it's honestly very unfortunate. I do admit I miss the times where companies weren't so concerned, so very concerned about offending somebody.
Well, it's like the whole thing with James Gunn, what happened with him and Disney over stuff he had already apologized for, going like, I was an idiot when I said those things.
And now he's the Kevin Feige of DC. So
right.
It's also like there's two sides to every story, and also all of this is a double-edged sword. The thing with this with the other thing that I mentioned, if whatever he's done is that bad, they would pull his entire score library from all of that you could purchase. But no, they've just elected not to release this particular thing. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know the situation.
We just wait until it dies down and the next thing comes along.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, you know, I am currently worried about the production of Good Omens Season 3. On the one hand, I do wonder if the cancellation of Dead Boy Detectives had anything to do with this whole thing.
I would not be surprised if that was the case. I think it was canceled around the time everything first popped up, and they were in the talks to cover it, and they're like, probably not good to start this knowing what, you know, we don't know what's going on with this. We're just going to end it here. So it could go somewhere else in the future, depending. I mean, that's not.
But you know, I will say that this is kind of this is not like a, you know, hey, keep your private lives private. Like, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Like, if you're into weird stuff, keep it to yourselves. Don't involve other people.
Yeah, it's still some of it. It's not small accusations for sure.
No, definitely not.
Yeah,
but there's
Damn it, Gaiman.
It's also one of those things that it's like I always tell people, don't put celebs of any kind up on any kind of pedestal at all. Just remember they are human too, and they make mistakes, sometimes really bad ones. So
there's one person who's been immune so far. Weird Al.
Yes. Yes.
He's this generation's Mr. Rogers. It's like,
if you have to have someone on a pedestal, put Weird Al. It's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah.
Like, it went from Mr. Rogers, and then Weird Al took his place. It's like, good luck finding any dirt.
I am gonna remain hopeful for Good Omens Season 3. I saw a really inappropriate meme earlier about picture Discord. This. Picture no, I will not. No, I will not. It's that bad. Someone texted it to me. We have a group chat about Good Omens. And I was like, oh, all I will say is picture this. Michael Sheen becomes the showrunner of Good Omens. And I go, oh no. Oh yes. But also, oh my God. We would never hear the end of it. It would be amazing. But
and it's just because like the duo that stars in this series are both such good people anyways. It's kind of sad that you know, I want that to be able to finish because they play those roles so well, and not putting people on pedestals, but they have done a lot of trying to be good for people in their actual lives with stuff they do.
Yep. And I you know, they're both and I say this with love, they're both mentally ill for these roles. They are both very focused and very into it. I don't think they will let them not finish it, if that makes sense.
So, all right. Well, I think we can move on to our next one here. And for those wondering, Chase forgot to plug in his laptop and had to go get a charger. Didn't want anyone to know, but we're going to mess with him about it and say it anyways. Also, the man has a Batman chair. He has a Batman chair and didn't tell me. I didn't see it until he got up earlier. And I'm like, what the hell? That thing's cool as crap. All right, jumping over. That's right, Chase. We're not going to let that one go. All right. What will let go, apparently, is the entire staff of publisher Annapurna Interactive. The video game publishing division of Megan Ellison's Annapurna Studio. They resigned recently after dispute with the company's owner. So, Publishing House is known for games like Stray, Outer Wilds, Cocoon, and more. They also recently announced a massive deal with Remedy Studios about Control 2, and then working with the main Annapurna as well as the video game side for bringing Alan Wake and Control to film and TV. Annapurna Interactive president Nathan Gary and the staff had been negotiating with Ellison to split the game division off into its own business. But when Ellison backed out of the talks, Gary, other execs, and 25 members of the staff just resigned. They all just quit at the same time. Gary stated, quote, all 25 members of the Annapurna Interactive team collectively resigned. This was one of the hardest decisions we have ever had to make, and we did not take this action lightly. Um, I will have to say I had a bit of an issue with some people writing about this that thought it was smart to shorten Annapurna Interactive to AI and make it seem like it's an AI argument, which it had nothing to do with it. Developers that were working with the publisher have been trying to find out if their agreements will be honored while they're trying to find new points of contact or who to speak with about this. And then Annapurna Interactive was assigned a new president very quickly, which is Hector Sanchez, who said all existing contracts will be honored, and they're working to hire replacements for all the staff. So they weren't willing to work with them, but they'll just find replacements and go from there.
At a lower pay rate, I imagine.
Maybe. Or at least with no need to try and make their own company. Sanchez was originally a co-founder for Annapurna Interactive, and they had brought him back a couple months ago. So this whole mess is just like, I don't know exactly what's going on. They wanted to go independent. I'm hoping maybe the people that left are going to form their own new publishing house. Like, if you won't let us go, we'll just go and do it ourselves. But it's not a great look for them, and it's got to make a lot of developers nervous that had their games going through here to kind of have that much stuff just drop all of a sudden. Anybody got any thoughts on this one? I know, Steven, you had talked about it a little bit.
I don't know. It's kind of, he might have, what's his name? Nathan Gary must have been some guy to bring 25 members of the staff with him and some other execs. Because it seems like they wanted one section to do all AAA stuff and another one to concentrate on indies. And I guess somewhere along the lines they were like, we didn't like that split. So we'll never know truly unless somebody like under the wire gives us the whole kit and caboodle what went on, because that sounded fine to me. Like, you work on the big things, we'll work on the small things. But I don't know if it came down to money. I don't know if it came down to workload. It's hard to say. It's just bad.
It seems almost like a control issue too. Like, they wanted to be able to be independent to work on these things and make the deals, and the parent company didn't want to do it and was kind of shutting that down because they were trying to negotiate. But as soon as she walked off, they were like, okay, you're just cutting us off and walking away from the table, so we're just going to leave as well. But when they leave, they don't get to keep the company. So I'm curious how this one's going to kind of play out over the next few months, especially in regards to, like, Remedy has been kind of cagey about what they're saying about this deal, because they just made that whole big announcement too. So that's a hard one. So all right, let's move on to another incident with a company here. This one's not exactly bad. It's just kind of how it played out. But Embracer Group, which we already do have problems with, they announced that after they have closed the deal to separate from Saber Interactive to release them to be themselves, which has turned out great, they have canceled the option to have them acquire 4A Games, the makers of Metro series, as well as Zen Studios, who do Pinball FX, Zen Pinball, and Castle Storm. And I make that sound a little bit worse than it is. This was a part of the option they had with their contract. Saber paid the money plus extra quickly, so they could go ahead and close the deal, and it was not optioned. So Embracer was able to keep those two parts of the company for that section. Lars Wingefors, I'm really sorry if I said that wrong. He's co-founder and CEO of Embracer. He stated, quote, "We are satisfied with the conclusion of this transaction and very glad to see the great teams and assets of 4A Games and Zen Studios remain with Embracer. They will be important building blocks in our continued journey. 4A Games has currently 2 AAA titles under development that we eagerly await to announce. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Matthew Karch for his contributions over the years, and at the same time congratulate the Saber team on the successful release of the iconic Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2 that will make a great start in their new structure." So at least the statement seems friendly. Seems like this deal actually brokered out fairly nicely. Saber was not shut down, and we get to play Warhammer tonight because of it.
Translation: we're waiting for those 2 AAA titles to come out, and then we'll shut them down if they don't outperform Space Marine 2.
I was hoping they would announce something for like Zen Studios, like, oh, they're just working on more pinball tables. Like, just say something. Come on.
We're doing an open world game. We're calling it Zenspath.
Perfect.
Oh my god, I'd be so mad. I need to get the copyright on that.
Your management studio, your estate, everybody would be like, no.
Our next episode is like, all right, we're changing our name. We have to. The lawyers talk to us.
Welcome to the Pinball FX cast.
Dun, da, 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 da.
Rachel will be the first to know because they're like, hey, I need help with new artwork.
The big question is now the big castle storm.
So it's nice to see, at least after all of these mergers and layoffs and closures and everything, a successful separation of a company back out that seems to be doing well. And I know publicly they have to say it, but at least it's nice that it doesn't seem to be a bunch of ill will between them. It was just a business. They made, they did the deal. They separated. We're good to go. So, all right, let's jump into the not so heated next topic. Hey guys, who wants a PlayStation 5 Pro? Because
I do. I'll trade it in. Only an extra $50.
Hey! I gotta ask. I must have the gift of prophecy because almost everything here I predicted the other day.
Yes. So Mark Cerny had a 9-minute video from Sony talking about and unveiling the PlayStation 5 Pro earlier this week. Some of the features.
You look like AI too.
His haircut looked kind of weird. Like, I've looked at older Cerny videos and I'm like, it looks fine. You look like you're trying like a
talking
son
down to us. He was tired and he was talking down to us. It was funny.
He looked like he had a hairpiece from Dumb and Dumber. I know that sounds terrible. I'm going to probably pay for that, but Mark Cerny's a genius. The man talks like he does know what he's doing, and he talks in such an interesting tone for how he loves stuff. But
I made Marble Madness, damn it.
So it's going to have a larger GPU. There's advancements in ray tracing, AI-driven upscaling with PSSR, the PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution,
That
also
pisser
known
quality.
as, what was that, Chase?
That pisser upscaling. It's going to be amazing.
Toss a coin to your pisser.
Oh, they did not think that through with the English community. But the biggest kick is the fact that this is $700. Oh yeah, and
Only
it
that
doesn't
much?
come. It doesn't come with a disc drive.
I have
Rachel's
the gift
worst
of
case
prophecy.
scenario.
I have the gift of prophecy. I jinxed myself, clearly.
You played yourself, Rachel.
I will just keep my original PS5, I guess, until it dies, and then I
But
have to go
Final
get
Fantasy
it
looks
repaired.
amazing with it. It's night and day.
I don't give a damn. Like, it plays just fine on my standard PS5. Who gives a rat's ass? But it's just I jinxed myself. I also have the.
They gotta make Grand Theft Auto 6 exclusive to PS5 Pro.
Now
They
that I will be upset about. They won't.
And,
They won't.
And the
I'll cover that.
and the forthcoming Xbox Series. Why not?
Yeah.
But that, I think it's great that it does include 2 terabytes of internal memory. That'll go up that real fast.
So does my Switch.
So, yep.
So if you want a disc drive, that's an $80 at least extra purchase. If you get one before the scalpers do, which, hey, I think we're down to just GameStop has some. Everywhere else has already sold out, and they're going for almost $200 online in some places now.
They'll restock them eventually. Give it a year.
Hopefully. I have a feeling this may end up one of those where Sony's not too quick to do it because they kind of want people to go digital over physical.
Yeah, they don't want too many disc drives laying around.
Yeah.
Well, there'll probably be like it'll happen.
We don't want another Xbox 360 HD DVD drive add-on.
I still have mine, damn it.
But I'm just sitting here, and I wonder if they'll backtrack on some things.
Well, the
who
big
knows?
kicker I laughed about, and I sent this out, and I had put the post out calling this pure fucking hubris of Sony because they had the balls to show the prices.
in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I was laughing.
They showed the
because,
prices. No.
I was laughing because they're we'll give you $400 something for your PS5 right now at GameStop, and I think that's really funny, because it reminds me of the last game release that they did some interesting promos for on trades, where they sent out that one email that confused everybody, where everybody was going to get a 50 or 40% boost on their trade, but they didn't read the fine print that said, no, you have to have already have pre-ordered that to get the boost on your trade. And man, there were fights in GameStops.
I wonder what the minimum pre-order amount's going to be on the Pro.
150.
On top of the price that they unveiled, they had the balls right there to have like the vertical stand is sold separately. Like you still have to buy that extra. So we're talking $700 for the system, $80 if you want a disk drive, another $40 if you don't already have a vertical stand or you want one. So in US, it's $900, and that's still the cheapest around the world because it's more expensive in other places. Canada is over $1,000 for the system before you add the other stuff in. Europe is almost more the amount they're asking for. I'm terrified to find out what New Zealand and Australia is going to have.
You probably have to cut off your leg and offer it to them.
You'd have to sell an organ.
Yeah, Chase, you have any theories on that price down there?
Well, if you look up the currency conversion from USD to New Zealand NZD, it's like 700 USD is about 1,140 NZD. So I'm guessing this is going to be like 1,300. Probably.
Yeah, because
that is the price of basically a really nice PC.
Well, not over here.
Yeah, everything's more expensive over there.
I'm just contextualizing it for people.
That has been some of the arguments online have boiled down to people like, oh, well, you could just make a comparable PC, which it's not going to be. It's back and forth on that. Like fanboys have been ridiculous about this system. And if you want to get one, that's fine. I'm not going to flaunt you for your money, but I still think this is a really shitty idea from Sony. Steven, go ahead.
So I've seen a few takes on this and read a few takes. And I know with the big three, larger GPU, advanced ray tracing, AI-driven garbage.
Pisser.
Yeah. So the one thing that I would like to say is if they kind of borrowed something that works already with Xbox Series X and they announced for the PS5 Pro that it would natively play all your old PlayStation games, both digitally and physically, the price would not be an issue at all. People would be chomping at the heels to play 20 years worth of PlayStation on one console. They would be killing themselves because it's easy to make the discs work with that kind of lasers, and they could be like,
with as
the
much
lasers make the price.
With as much backlash as they've received with the no backwards compatibility over the years and stuff like that, and the fact that they haven't really done anything with it other than oh, look at all these digital things that you could do in the library, blah, 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 blah. And you know me, I'm a Sony gal. I prefer Sony consoles. This is a personal thing. I just like their control schemes better. I like their UI better. It's just the way I am. Xbox confuses me. That's it. But even I'm like, the heck? But there's got to be somebody on that board that is preventing them from doing the backwards compatibility.
It's not someone on the board. They have designed the systems not to support it. If they wanted to put PlayStation 1, they can't because it's the same reason they've designed their drives that they don't support music CDs.
Okay, but why is it being designed that way? There's got to be somebody in that company that is causing all of this.
Well, they've come out multiple times and said there was no, because this was back when PS4 didn't have backwards compatibility. They were talking about their designers that you don't need backwards compatibility. We're not going to look backwards on these things.
But they keep releasing PS4 games.
Yeah.
Right, which they had the compatibility because they went from PS4 to PS5 of the one generation. But they want you, if you really want to play the old games, they want you to use their streaming service and their online. They're pulling a Nintendo on that. is what they're doing.
Like I get it, but I think there's more to it. Like I really genuinely
Well,
do.
I mean, they literally came out and said that though.
Oh,
There's not much
I'm
more
sure
to
they
that
did,
when
but I
they
still
said
think
it.
there's more to it than that. That just sounds like an excuse to me.
Like
That's
they
all.
already had,
I know, but if the company
they already had
themselves are
damage
saying they don't
control
wanna do
when
it-
Xbox had smart delivery versus PlayStation saying, "Well, pay us $10 and we'll give you the upgrade instead."
right, or
So,
the separate
it's
releases
just
and all that.
like I said, I think there's more to it than that. I know they've come out and said things. I was there when it happened. It's just I legitimately think there's more to it than that. That's all. So
I mean, they're not going to magically just change their minds, is the thing.
oh
right? 'Cause
no. I know that.
They're actively
I know
pushing
that.
towards that, which is weird.
Well, they want you to
want them to.
rebuy them. They want you to rebuy them on the PS Classics on the
I know.
PlayStation Store.
It's all greed.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I mean,
99% of it is
And
all greed.
even then, people aren't happy if those games don't come with trophies. And I'm like, you know how old the game is?
Yeah, that's a weird requirement for doing that because like trophies are fun, but they're not. I'd rather just
Like,
play the games.
people are pissed that Time Splitters doesn't have trophies. I was like, get over yourself.
And it doesn't bother me at all. Like, not an Xbox, PlayStation thing, but like playing all the backwards compatible games on Xbox, they don't have achievements at all, except for like the 360 when they first started it. Everything else, that's fine. They're just games. I'm playing them and they're fine. I wish they had online. And I agree. If they did do a thing where you could play the old systems on there, I would buy this.
If there was ever a time for the Switch 2 to be announced, it was that day.
Yeah.
That would have been crazy.
I mean, I'm still getting old games. Like, yeah, I know I can. I just picked up Resident Evil Director's Cut. I finally found a good copy of it for PlayStation 1, so I can mess around with it and enjoy it. And I'll probably be playing that all the way up to like a PS3 whenever I'm messing with it. But I would love to have been able to play it on PS4 or PS5. That'd be great, but I don't want to have to pay for online just to go and mess with their service to do that. So I don't know, this whole thing, like, how are you guys feeling about the cost of it? Because
it's stupid.
It's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is really, I think this is quite an interesting one because, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I watched the video and I think that, I mean, Cerny's Cerny. He's fairly intelligent person, and I thought that the way that they did the video was actually smart, which was hey, do you like good, which is the PS5? Do you want better, which is the PS5 Pro? Like, they didn't completely.
They couldn't even show it. They showed PS4 games for the most part in that presentation.
Yeah,
and so the way I looked at it,
hang on a second though.
Oh,
like,
sorry.
It's fucking stupid that they even do that to begin with. That they do these comparison things because, like, you're streaming it on fucking YouTube that can't handle like that comparison type stuff, that side to side comparison. So why the fuck are you even doing that?
Shrink it down, like they.
Cerny was like, "Look, there's 3 characters in the back. You can see their foot now," and I was just like, "That's $700."
And like, you know, because was it Digital Foundry even said, they're like, there's a reason why we do things in slow-mo and we pause things. It's because, like, when you can't have like a side-by-side comparison, expected YouTube's like streaming to be able to pick all this stuff up. It's just not possible. And so I was just like, I just thought it was really stupid that they even did that to begin with. But I also thought that this thing was really weird because, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later with the big question, but the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X, they brought in this thing where they said, hey, do you want to have like better fidelity?
HDR?
Or do you want better performance? And so you had this choice between these two modes. Now all of a sudden the PS5 Pro, they're trying this whole, well, why not just have both? And it's just like, well, and so they're actually like, they're going away from that. So the thing that they brought in with the 0.5 systems last generation, they're now trying to do away with, which is...
Well, they've opened Pandora's box on that feature.
They stated that 75% of gamers, which I think is unnaturally high to say that on their...
I actually think that's probably accurate,
75% of people pick performance over fidelity.
I'm the guy that I pick fidelity over performance. I want these games to look as good as they can, and I am perfectly fine if they give me a locked 30 over this weird fluctuating 60 that's supposed to be smoother. Some games, I do agree, need to be 60. Fighting games, some racing, because I enjoyed Forza even when they were 30, and stuff like that, 100%. But like we're playing Warhammer 40K right now, I'm playing it in fidelity mode. It looks better to me in the 30 FPS. It looks so much cleaner graphically. I flipped over to try 60 for a little while, and it was just disjointed and it didn't look right to me.
It's because the with the swarm tech, the consoles can't really like keep up when you have a lot of stuff on the screen.
Mhm.
But that game, you could tell that game was designed to be 30. That's what it
Probably.
was. So it's like, why not just do that?
Yeah, go ahead, Steven. Oh.
I don't care necessarily how it looks as long as it doesn't look hot garbage and the story is good.
Yeah. We love this.
I'm very easy to please. I'm very easy to please when it comes to games.
Yeah. Steven, go ahead.
So I do want to add on to this Sony debacle by saying recently the Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO, Nishino, he told Nikkei, if I'm saying it right, the news outlet, which people are wondering if they changed his words, but I doubt it. He says they did not raise the PS5 price in Japan. They changed it. They changed the PS5 price in Japan and said that we can reinvest the revenue we earn from the price hike.
That's still an increase. It went up by $90.
They didn't know. We didn't raise the price. The PS5's not raising the price to $700. It's changing the price to $700 through fidelity.
Oh God. Chase, go ahead.
So one thing I wanted to touch on that Swan mentioned, I thought it was really interesting that he mentioned that 75% plus of people that have a PS5 choose performance mode over fidelity mode. And I actually think that is true. Because if you look at what a lot of like the vast majority of people play, like the most played games are, like Fortnite, Call of Duty, Genshin Impact.
Yeah, you're going to want 60 for stuff like that.
Yeah, they, and I think Call of Duty was one of the first games to include up to 120 frames if you could, if you had a monitor that could support it. So I do actually kind of agree that I think that is probably the case because, and people get caught up in the whole 60 frames and people have been trained to get caught up in that because like there's so many places that talk about that and there's so many, like media outlets that talk about 60 frames and like if you have anything less than 60 frames, it's like molasses. It's just like,
I'll take frame dips over like glitches, bugs, game killing errors.
I'll take 30 frames over glitches, bugs.
Steven, these children have no idea about fucking Star Fox on the Super Nintendo.
You shut your whore mouth, all right?
No, I love that game.
People who
that
then
was
found
like
out that
Punch-Out
for Wii was 60 frames, and now they're like, all Nintendo games should be, and such like that. And then you got to realize that you have all these people who are just so dead set on it. There are certain games, I will admit, that are jarring when you pick between the modes. And for me, Hellblade and Space Marine 2, for me, were such a dramatic difference that I was like, I can't go to fidelity ever because there's too much blur and it seems janky when you're turning the camera and it's smoother when you're in performance. So I was just like, already that's two games where I do favor performance. So I can kind of get behind 75%, but I see where they're going with it. I think Sony is just mad that they have this powerful console before the Pro and people are like, we're just going to use it to make things run better. We don't want to see the graphics.
Jeremy, I want to ask you, I want to get your opinion on this because I feel like the problem that they did, they upped the GPU, right? To just a little bit over half. Was it like 65% is extra compute units?
Some of the numbers they were calling about, but this is also the same people that were saying the PS5 would be able to run everything at 4K 60 and, didn't exactly
the emotion engine.
But So
Yeah.
here's my issue, though: is that the GPU. I didn't feel like the GPU was ever the problem, though.
The CPU limit.
More developers have come out and said they're CPU locked. They're blocked by the CPUs where they're deadlocked at.
Yep.
I don't
So
think you understand,
why
Chase. You
didn't
can
they?
play Gran Turismo in 8K.
I don't give a fuck. And thank God they never mentioned.
You can see
Thank God
with
they
the-
never
with-
mentioned 8K at all in this whole thing. I was like,
It
thank
was on
God.
their post.
But they did
afterwards.
on their blog. On their blog, they said Gran Turismo 7 will be able to hit 8K, and they showed in that stupid presentation that because of the big three, advanced ray tracing, you can see the reflections of all the other cars while you race. Because that's
so
what
it was an
Yeah.
ad for Forza
That's-
Motorsports then, because they've been doing that since last year.
That's that pisser upscaling in action right there. You can see the fucking reflection.
Well, the
I've got
don't
ray
give a
tracing in
shit.
Final Fantasy 6. It's called, you just take the pixel, you flip it upside down, and show them in the water. Yay, ray tracing in Final Fantasy 6.
Oh man. So
Oh,
like with all of that, I'm gonna make this point. I want to talk to you guys about it as well, and then we'll probably move to the big question in a minute. So every time any of these systems, the developers get more power, more room to do stuff, they're going to eventually hit a wall or want to push beyond that because they can to get that even higher fidelity and take that 30 FPS. I don't care how much they keep saying it's going to be.
And then the game will take longer.
Yeah, like, no matter how
It
much they
costs more
push and
money.
say, and I think this is
And
what
lay off more
happened.
people.
This is what happened like with Avowed. This is what happened with a few other games, including on Sony's side, where they were pushing graphically so much stuff, and they're like, well, it's not going to be a game that needs to have that 60 until the companies make it a mandatory thing, which I think was still going to hurt development because it'll be 60 but rough. 30 is going to be an option for a lot of people because I know it does not bother me. That may also be tied to the fact that I can play VR without any problems. I don't get motion sickness. Maybe it's just how I perceive that it doesn't bother me. For other people, I understand some of it can bother people. I get that.
Some of that stuff can ruin old games too, because old games aren't optimized to run that way.
Yeah.
And some of the best examples I can give you is if you don't use a proper emulator to play old PC games or DOS games, a game like Willy Beamish, where you had to click on certain things in a certain matter of time, is exponentially accelerated on newer computers to the point where you need to tell the computer to slow the fuck down the performance because that game will not be playable. And unfortunately, it's happening to people who then say, well, we need to preserve the past. Well, they're trying to put too much into these remasters and remakes that the game's unplayable because now it's too fast.
Yeah, I remember a lot of those emulators, or when they would get a patch or something to bring it to more modern hardware at the time, it would literally be just a program running garbage through the CPU to slow it down to the right speeds. Like that's all they were
Night
doing.
Dive, good on Night Dive. They're really good at remasters and HD stuff. But they had an issue with Shadow Man where a lot of things weren't working because it was running too fast, and they had to release a patch to slow it down.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, you got
it
games.
begs the question, it's like, yeah, if you give somebody too much of a playground, they're going to get lost, and then you're going to have to call Child Protective Services.
yeah, I just
CPS and game development. That just, Rachel, that was the right face right there for that. It's like, what the hell?
I just real quick going back to Jeremy. I just don't understand why they didn't upgrade the CPU. That's where the blockade is for a lot of developers.
I think they did.
That would have been $1,000.
Yeah, it would have. It depends on how that would have gone in there. Because they were trying to say like they're going to have faster RAM because it's attached to it, but that's more of the cache for the GPU itself. Just for a lot of this stuff, it's a nice upgrade, but I don't feel it's worth $700 upgrade because what they were showing was not that giant of a difference. And
if you tell me I get 10 more leaves in the background, you're not selling me.
Well, what kicks it is in Sony's own video. This is not someone else showing it and so forth. They showed footage of Game That Shall Not Be Named running at fucking 30 FPS with all these features on. The one thing they just said wouldn't happen anymore. Everything would be 60 and running great.
But like when Chase said, when they showed the Pro, they showed HDR, they showed big jumps. And
Yeah.
Xbox is already promising the biggest leap in their next console. So I'm like, you better have those comparisons ready, because if it looks anywhere near PS5 Pros, you're dead.
So, all right. Last round before we move on to the big questions. Anybody else have anything else they would like to say about the PS5 Pro, its need for the drive, its cost, Rachel's terrifying new ability to tell the future and doom us all? Her ability to call out
corporate greed.
any of that. Go ahead, Rachel.
I'm just glad that I possess the gift of prophecy. I will be using it to the best of my ability.
Yeah, please use it for good.
I will try my best, but I won't tell anybody if I win the lottery, but there will be signs.
Well, can you at least make the PS6 cheaper?
You won't be on the show.
I'll do PS5 Pro.
I will do my best, but I can make no guarantees, because the moment I say something sassy about any prediction, that's going to be the thing that happens, not the actual prediction. So I just can't sassily predict anything anymore, because I possess the gift of prophecy apparently for Sony things.
You've learned what to do,
I guess. And, listen to this podcast. You'll hear me predict stuff and not mean to.
There you go. Chase, any last thoughts on the PS5 Pro?
I guess one real quick thing in case anybody actually cares, but
we do. We care a lot.
It still only has 4 USB ports, but they changed it so there's only one USB Type A on the back, which will probably be for your external hard drive more than likely. And then everything else is USB-C, so there's one USB-C on the back, 2 on the front.
I think they did that for the Slim also.
Well, the Slim had 2 USB-C on the front and 2 USB-A 3.0 on the back, I think.
Oh, okay. I thought it was 3 USB-C and an A.
Yeah, so what they've done now is they've added a third USB-C, which is nice, because as Jeremy, I think, mentioned in last week's video, you can do a lot with the USB-C, especially running off a hub, because in the age of peripherals, you need a USB hub just to have stuff, because 4 is not enough. So at least they did that. But
no kidding. You were right. The Slim did have 2 USB-A ports in the back. You were correct.
So, things so expensive, but it was actually interesting because there was, I think, a Games Radar did a article on, and they talked to the Blizzard CEO about the PS5 Pro, and the Blizzard CEO actually said he's like, this isn't meant to target en masse people. This is meant to target people that are enthusiasts and that are willing to trade their PS5 to deaden the cost of the Pro. And so I was like, he's probably right. But I don't know.
They saw aftermarket ones selling for over 1,000. They're like, we can get in on that, make it real.
Yeah. I think the lack of a disc drive is shit, but it's pretty on brand for Sony, because there would be nothing more would make Sony happier than, and probably Microsoft as well, if we just got rid of disc drives.
Yeah, Microsoft already did the same thing with their new models too. So
yep. So that's unfortunate, but keep fighting the good fight, people.
Yep. Steven, any last thoughts on the PS5 Pro?
I hope there's an update to it where I hope that larger GPU makes it so it doesn't have to spin my disc when I'm playing a digital game.
It sounds like
when I'm playing a game that doesn't even have a disc. Stop spinning it every so often. You're wasting my time and my power, Sony. So how about you fix that?
Noticed that. Wow. All right. The last 2 things I want to say is I thought it was really weird marketing wise for Sony to talk down the PS5, saying developers didn't have enough power with it. Games looked blurry. You had to choose modes. They downplayed that, but then price the PS5 Pro outside of most people's reasonable amounts. So it's like, if you're too poor to buy the good system, you're going to feel bad about the one you have. Is a very weird marketing strategy, and I'm curious to see where it goes.
You're PS5 poor.
Oh, God. I think I heard it also called the PS5 amateur and stuff like that as well.
I'd rather, but I did like the other one. I'd rather own 7 Dreamcasts than 1 PS5 Pro.
Long live the Dreamcast.
Listen,
We
you
mourn
can,
it
you
every
can buy
day.
that. You can buy that Kingdom Hearts chess set for the price of a PS5 Pro.
That was great, Rachel, by the way.
I found that
Love
and I was
that.
like, perfect. You can buy 2 Lydia Dietz wedding dresses.
Okay, I have
the
to
authentic
ask.
ones for
The chess set, is it canon? Like, is there story parts we need to play the chess game to understand a later Kingdom Hearts?
I mean, it's present in the last bits of Kingdom Hearts 3,
Really?
and it's kind of important. Yeah, it's a pseudo important, but
I
we
was
don't
The
know
joking,
Horcrux
but
the
holy
in
crap.
one of the chess pieces.
You know, we don't know the importance yet, but yeah, there's.
I was kidding, but it seems it was real. Holy shit.
Yeah, I mean,
The other thing I'm hearing about is people, and I knew this was going to be because they've been sending me messages about it. We had the whole thing of like Xbox games coming to PlayStation, and now people are like, oh, Indiana Jones and Starfield and all these other games are going to be so much better on PS5 Pro. And I'm like, how great would it be if Microsoft's just like, yeah, we're not going to support it. It does nothing different. Like, you put the disc in, it plays exactly like it does on a PS5.
Oh, it'd be a lose-lose if they did that, though. They'd catch so much hell.
There's no way to win that. It's going to be a weird
There's
one.
no winning. There's no losing. It's just greed.
Increased whip physics because of the larger
Increased
GPU.
whip physics.
The pisser.
Perfect.
The whip will look really good, too, because of the
Oh,
pisser.
God.
You
And
can
know what
make
else
out the crystal
it'll probably-
skull due to the
It'll
pisser.
probably sound great too. With
Probably.
snap.
In our version, Mutt comes back.
Oh, God. All right, let's move on to the big question now that we've ruined
Oh
that
my
idea
God.
of Indiana Jones.
I can't believe they called it that. Oh, my God.
All right, so the question for this week, after the first generation to have true mid-gen upgrades, not slims or cheaper models, but true upgrades with the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One X, do you feel that this should become a standard expectation moving forward, or should it have been the one-off it was seemingly intended to be by both Sony and Microsoft because it was made for 4K adoption at the time? So who wants to start this one off? I guess Steven, I know you want to say, oh, Rachel's got her hand up first though. Rachel, go for it.
I think it already is an expectation, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of already like they established that with the last iteration of things, and it's not like they haven't been doing kind of in a way mid-grade updates without doing necessarily a upgrade. Like they've been doing different editions of consoles that are marketedly different for quite some time. Like,
yeah,
an example would be the big honking PS2 to the PS2 Slim. To some people, that would be considered an upgrade because it takes up less space on their entertainment system.
I think that's a little different though. I'm talking about like actual difference because you can play a PS2.
I know what you're talking about, but
Yeah.
this is the background for it is, in a way, a different edition of a system, whether it's an upgrade or not, is already an expectation, if that makes sense. I think there's already an expectation that there will be some kind of different version, whether it's an upgraded version or a smaller size, a slim, whatever. I don't think it's that this is should become a standard expectation. I think it already is.
Okay. Steven, what about you?
So, people need to realize that this has been going on since Atari. 2600, 5200, 7800. Oh, it's better graphics. It looks better. Part of this is just, it's par for the course. It's just the price is getting in the way now.
Yeah.
And nobody's innocent of this. Nintendo does it to theirs, saying like, oh, well, this game, Xenoblade Chronicles, can only be played on the new 3DS
Yep.
because it's got the power of 2 Wiis taped together instead of 2 GameCubes.
Yeah.
So,
They're
you
connected
have
by string and 2 tin cans.
So, I understand, the redesign of the models doesn't really count for this question, but it kind of lays the groundwork of it works for them because it brings out more SKUs, it brings out more shelf space, floor space, advertising space, because it's not known as an old console that they're trying to re-advertise. It's a new console. So, but that being said, every single time we've gotten an upgrade in the past, both I want to say both cosmetic and otherwise,
Mhm.
it's because the system is doing really well
Yeah.
and they need to get more out there.
Yep.
So I agree with this. There was one user who was not part of the social construct of the console wars on X, and he said Sony did not earn this mid-gen upgrade. It did not sell enough PS5s. It is
Mhm.
not saying that this game can't run anymore. It's not.
I think
It's not showing an Ark Survival on Switch type of
I
experience or Batman Trilogy on Switch experience to say this needs an upgrade now because this can't run anymore.
Right.
I think they're doing it just because they have that expectation too. But in their minds, it's not necessarily because of success. Like it is. Like that's what they had been following in the past, but also they're applying time to it. They're like, okay, well, in the past, and we've done this around after so many years have gone by. So let's just go ahead and do it now, whether or not we've been successful or not.
Yeah, the problem is they're just taking the time now and saying
exactly
it's time to release the next one. It's like
Well, we're seeing
it's
Sony's.
like you can't pull a Taco Bell. You can't take away the nacho fries and then wait 3 months and then bring them back and say they're back, and everybody's like, "Holy cow!" It's like just make them permanent, you morons.
We're seeing Sony's greed on this, as well as unmitigated. Like this is what they could do when they are the market leader. They can just decide to do this stuff and go from there. But before I get into
But they're not that.
Yeah, Chase, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that the other two said the unfortunate answer of it is the expectation for a lot of people, even though I don't necessarily think it should be. I think Swan's right. I think that if you are going to do this, then you need to earn the ability to do this. Like there has been no game this generation until you could actually probably even argue Helldivers 2 and Space Marine 2 even that I've actually said, oh yeah, this is why I've gotten a next gen console. This is why I needed the PS5 or the Xbox Series X, because because you're actually, like Space Marine 2 is actually making these consoles struggle a little bit, like especially in performance and stuff. And I just think that I think you alluded to it earlier, Jeremy. The whole reason why they did the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X was because 4K TVs were in popularity, and they wanted to be able to take advantage of that. And they did a really good job. With this, I think it's just marketed towards enthusiasts, and I think it's and I think that Sony's just like, oh yeah, it's been however many years. Time to put something out now.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not necessarily caring about the profit, and probably some people in the company think, well, if it didn't sell well with this version, maybe it'll sell better with this version, even though they've got stupid options.
Sony and Microsoft have this innate ability to outsmart themselves, though. So they probably also think that there's this. They probably have this thought that there's actually this expectation from us, the consumers, that they're going to make a 0.5, and I think there is from some people, but I think there's a lot of just normal people that are like, we actually don't really need a 0.5 this generation.
Their stock actually went up after the announcement. Shareholders were happy.
Yeah. I think we expect another version, but I did not expect whatever the hell that is. So
we expect them to make a slim version, but we don't necessarily expect them to make a pro version. I think
at least not unless it was selling really well. Which
not even then really. So the history of these things, the way they've been, anytime we got a slim PS2, the PS1 or its revisions, was always either a cost saving measure or a way to produce where they could release the systems to play the games at a lower cost to them, so they could start making more money off of those. It's part of why for the consoles, Nintendo didn't normally make that many of them, because they already priced their consoles to be at that point when they started. The handhelds, like especially 3DS and stuff like that, we saw a couple different incremental changes, like the DSi, because that's when they were moving into online. So that required new hardware to do it, which was kind of weird. But like the XL models were just bigger versions. They didn't play any different. The new 3DS was definitely a weird one. Like there's such a small handful of games that were just for it, including, like you said, Xenoblade, Minecraft, and
But their
things like that. It was
iterations,
so
you
weird.
could tell they were being pressured into certain things
Yeah.
that were actually developer focused because they slowly had to work in an analog stick because people were just like, we can't just keep buying that add-on.
Yep.
We want to play with analog. So they're like, okay, we'll make another
It
model.
sucks because I love that add-on. But like with the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X, Microsoft's already gone on and said they're not doing another mid-generation upgrade. That was a one-off for doing that because the Xbox One did have issues. And they were wanting to support 4K and the higher resolutions and so forth because the market was getting more of them. A lot of us...
There's probably also another reason.
But
Oh, yeah.
Sony also came out and said that this was a one-off. They were not supposed to do more upgrades, but they were doing it in response to the One X as well as to support 4K TVs because they just looked bad on standard 1080 output or 720 or lower is what a lot of them were getting. Chase, what was your other point you were going to make? Sorry, I wanted to finish my sentence. Thanks.
No, you're fine. I was just saying, I think there's another reason though why Microsoft's probably like, we're not going to do a 0.5 as like to say sometimes. And that's because the Series S has already taught them an interesting lesson in that while it's popular with the consumers, it's not popular with the developers to have to develop with a lesser powerful console in mind.
Yeah, the mandate does hurt them at times.
The mandate does hurt them, but I think they're going to come out with a benefit in the end because that hardware will probably be the closest thing to the Switch 2.
No,
Which,
that's it's going to be a benefit to Nintendo. It's like it should be a benefit to them. But,
I mean, I eventually see the Series S being phased out because of the new X being an all-digital version. So I see it happen.
I could see it, yeah. But Microsoft wanted to, was just having the hardware they had. And I'm going to call, and I called it online, I'm going to call it bullshit here as well. The upgraded version of the Series X they're releasing, that's like 600, that has the 2 terabytes of memory and it's a special edition and all that, is not the same thing as a PS5 Pro upgrade for 700.
No.
This is nothing more than when Sony released the Spider-Man editions of the PS4, the PS5, or other limited editions that are more expensive with, sometimes they'll come with a game or bigger memory or something, but it's still the same hardware, is different than a whole different setup requiring all these new things. That is not a one-to-one comparison that I'm just calling bullshit on people trying to compare those. Is the Galaxy Edition Series X a lot? Yeah. I'm probably going to get it just because I want the 2 terabyte internal and I don't have to switch cards as much because you and I, all of us play so many damn games on there. I have to swap the memory cards out. But it's not a necessary thing. It's not changing how the gameplay is going to go. And even with the PS5 Pro, how long before we've got people complaining that the PS5 is holding back what the Pro could do? Are we going to have that argument going on? Or they're going to make something and show it off running on a Pro looking great and find out a 5 runs it terribly. I mean, so Rachel, I want to ask you something because I know you have played the most recent Final Fantasy VII remake, right?
Yes, not in its entirety yet. I'm taking my sweet ass time.
That's fine, but
yeah.
Which mode are you playing it in, if I can ask? There's a fidelity and a performance.
I think I'm doing fidelity.
People are already looking at fidelity and going, well, that looked horrible because it should look better on a Pro now. So what you're seeing is what they're considering to be unacceptable now. And I'm like,
night and day, they're saying.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. One.
I knew this would set her off.
You do not play Final Fantasy games for how pretty it looks. You play it for the story. Who gives a shit? As long as it plays well, doesn't look like hot garbage, which fidelity mode does not look like hot garbage. It just looks fine. Looks normal.
Yeah.
And you're playing it for the story. All RPGs are for the story. That's what it is. It's a bonus that it looks pretty.
Yeah.
So who cares?
Well, they were upset because fidelity mode is only 30 FPS and not instead of performance mode being at 60 FPS.
On PS5 Pro, you can have both now because of that pisser.
Except for some games that they
just
showed.
Remember, we only see in 60 frames. When they say 120 even, I was like, that's too damn fast.
Like,
And yes, some games you will notice a difference between 30 and 60, but
Yeah.
other games you will not because of how they play.
unless
And I think
a
it comes
game,
down to camera because, like I stated before, Space Marine and Hellblade, for some reason, the camera's worse when you're in Fidelity.
unless a game, like I said, runs like hot garbage. It's got stuttering, it's got freezing, it's got weird
Right.
ass glitches. I don't care if it's 30 or in 60 FPS. My eyes and my brain do not notice that kind of thing. It
I
is
just want
not programmed
consistency.
to
That's
notice
all I
that.
want. If you're gonna give me 30, give me consistent 30. If you're gonna do the new settings of like 40 FPS or 50 FPS, whatever they do with the VRR, make it
I
at least
guess-
somewhat consistent. Like that's
Give
all
me
I
Master
want.
Chief Collection. I want Halo 4 at 15 frames like we had.
Yeah, I guess I'm just one
Halo
of the
3.
like very I guess I'm just one of the very few people out there that is a gamer that just I don't care. I don't care. As long as it doesn't run like hot garbage, I don't
I got a
care.
question for you, Rachel. Have you ever had a
Yeah.
problem with VR, or does it play fine for you?
What, me playing VR?
Yeah.
I can only play it for like depending on the game.
Mhm.
I played the Batman like Arkham VR when it first came out. I played it at a friend's house.
Uh-huh.
And I played it for about 45 minutes, and then we went out to some bar and played Jenga and got dinner and stuff with a bunch of other friends.
Mhm.
And on the ride there in his car, I kept saying, I have Batman hands. I keep looking down and expecting to have Batman hands. And he goes, "Oh yeah, that'll wear off in like another like 20 minutes by the time we get there."
But
And
like
it
the
did.
frame rate did not mess with you though, is what I'm saying. Like
I don't know. I mean,
because like
not
some
as far
people are
as I
like,
noticed.
if I play VR at all, I get sick, and I'm like, I'm kind of wondering, and this is my running theory, because like you and I both seem to be fine with VR. We seem to be fine with different frame rates, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is I wonder if just how people's brains are wired. The
It
ones
is.
that are
I
fine with
think-
like VR and frame rate and all that stuff don't give a shit about the 30 frames thing.
So I have a theory. I think it's
Mhm.
partially how a person's like also how their eyes work, because everyone's eyes, they all like biologically they work the same, but everyone's vision is slightly different.
Yeah.
And it's all based on how your brain interprets things. So
I wonder what
like,
red to you is to me.
yeah. And so and also female vision is different from male vision. We see more colors than men do. We have more color receptors in our like eyes and than men do. That's why we can interpret like different shades a lot differently when men are just like, it just looks purple. It's like, nah, one is this shade, one is this shade. So there's that. But I also think, and here's
I have women eyes because I can do that.
Here's my theory. Here's my and this is this is kind of a hot take. I think the people that complain of some people, a large majority of people that complain about frame rate and like say that are just saying it to say it. They don't really give a shit.
They need those Call of Duty Gunnar sunglasses.
Like
I called out a group about that because they were talking about a Bloodborne PC port that'll finally have 60 FPS and like we can't play anything out of it. And I went, how do you guys know or love Bloodborne at 30 FPS or lower as it got? If it was an unacceptable frame rate and you would refuse to play them, how come you played that one just fine and ranted and raved? They got very upset with me about that.
Yeah, I tell people, I'm just like, are you really like noticing that? Or are you just saying it for the cloud? That's literally, I think 90% of these people that are complaining about it are really just doing it for attention and for the cloud. But that's just my hot take.
You get paid now, so of course you're going to say stuff that's just...
Yep. So my last thoughts on this, I think I don't want them to do mid-gen upgrades, but I expect they're probably going to. They would love to have the Apple model where you get a brand new console every year and they just keep cycling out the old ones, making it worse and worse experiences. So you have to keep upgrading each time. I'm still shocked Nintendo, they had a slight upgrade with the OLED, but the actual general hardware of the Switch has been the same damn thing for 8 years, which is shocking.
But you got to remember, Switch 2 is going to be LCD, so you know what that means. Switch
OLED
2
eventually.
OLED coming.
Yeah. Well,
That's
I'm
kind of
curious to see because we don't know That's the thing is we don't know if it's actually OLED or LCD or
Well,
we have no idea.
They bought quite a lot of LCDs from Samsung, so it's like I think we know where that's going, or Toshiba, whatever the report was. But we know what they're using those for, and it's not the museum.
OLED's nice. I do like it, but I didn't have a problem with LCD on the Switch. Honestly, it was fine to me. I played it for years. I only upgraded OLED because Zelda.
I just upgraded to OLED because of the larger screen.
Yeah.
The only mid-gen, but it wasn't even mid-gen yet, that I did not like was the Steam Deck LCD or OLED, whatever, because they made quality of life improvements, and basically, if you were an early adopter, you just got shit on.
Yeah, that kind of sucked. So I think we're going to keep seeing these. I hope we don't. I'd rather not, because I think developers, the whole point of console is you have a set platform to work on. You have restrictions to work around, things like that, which is not a bad thing. Everyone's like, you should have infinite power. Nobody's going to. Developers will take the laziest way they can with that. But I've seen, you're supposed to see a massive improvement over the life of a system because developers are learning those restrictions, learning how it works, and designing games around that. And the more we get these little upgrades, we're just going to see brute force better looking PS5 Pro games, while the PS5 versions are going to run worse because they're not taking the time to work around those limitations. Also would like to note, I've already read 2 articles that tried to blame the price of the PS5 Pro on the fact the Series S exists. So apparently even the Series S is causing Sony to charge $700 for this. And I laughed my ass off.
Okay, yes, that is funny, but
it's terrible.
I do it, but it is also like price can be determined by, not only like what's in it and what it can do, but also market value and what other companies are charging for similar
what they think
upgrades.
It's what they think they can get away with is what it is.
Yes, and similar upgrades. So I could go into cost benefit analysis, but I'm not going to because I'm tired.
Fair enough. All right, I think that is a good time to end this. So we'll sign out of our big question. That way I have a marker. It makes my editing easier. If you are watching this show and you'd like to listen to the audio version, find us over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere that you find your audio ones. Just search for the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast on your podcatcher of choice, and we'll be there. Leave us a review. Share it with people. It helps us out a lot. If you're listening to the audio version of this or streaming it and you'd like to see our ugly mugs online, you can find us over at youtube.com/ZenspathCom. And yes, you can see the face Rachel just gave me of absolute disgust, and I'm going to hear about it later.
Upscaled via pisser.
You should have saved that for the end, Chase. Damn it.
You spoke too soon, buddy.
That would have been a good one. Leave us a thumbs up, leave a comment, answer the big question, and let us know your thoughts on that. And if we can consistently get more people commenting about it, we'll start including some of those responses each week from the previous big questions. It'd be kind of a fun little, fan responses for a few things. I'm thinking about also cutting out the big question for older episodes and releasing them by themselves and see how it kind of goes as like little mini discussions, just to kind of bring back some of those questions. If you want to talk to us directly, you can find us over on X or Twitter or whatever at Zenspath Podcast. Only for the time being. I'm moving over to Threads for everything. At
Good.
Zenspath
Welcome to it.
Yes, I prefer it there and much better interaction. I know Steven's just rolling his eyes because he's not on Threads.
I'm sorry, I don't want to close my Instagram account if I don't want to be on Threads, though.
Yeah,
you're locked in.
I haven't had a problem with it. It's already tied in now anyways. And then also, if you'd like to talk to us directly on the Discord, which is the best way to reach all of us, you can go over to bit.ly/ZenspathDiscord. And that's where we're, talking about what stories we're going to have each week, what we're playing, getting together for online groups to chat while we're playing different stuff and things. I stream on there on occasion just to be like, hey, here's what I'm doing, guys, and have fun with it. So go from there. All right. This has been episode 143 of the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast, and we're out. Peace.
Hey, guys.
Watch this in 8K.
Cringe is dead, but long live cringe.
Pisser. What a name.